Hello and welcome to iPen Podcast. My name is Joanne Cox.
Hi, I'm Nanette Buchanan and welcome to Let's Talk About It. And today we're going to talk about something that I don't know if everybody knows that they do this, but sometimes, or maybe they do. Nowadays they do it more than they did back in the day.
Well, spit it out. What is it you're saying?
Crossing personal lines.
Oh, well, I think it's half and half. I think some people don't know they are doing it and some just don't care.
I think that it's growing to the I don't care. I think it's growing to those people that just automatically feel that there is no personal line. And I'm talking mainly, we see it in the media.
Yes.
We see it in you know what they report. I mean, I understand that some things need to be reported for news, that we do need to know who's doing XYZ, but I think they go too far. I think some of the things that they do, they really cross the personal lines.
And it's not just, and you said media, but then you pointed out the news. Well, it's the shows that we watch and we become a part of that. So when you have little sitcoms that it's okay to get personal or to say something to someone you don't even know.
Right.
You know, that can be offensive. And everybody laughs at it because it's a sitcom. But just like back in the day when the more people would drink alcohol and the more people would smoke, then you thought that was a norm.
So it became a regular. So
when you start to cross the line and you see that as an everyday average thing, it's like everybody's doing it.
Right. And does that alleviate the term personal when everybody is doing it?
Yeah.
When it's happening all along. But what I'm thinking of is, for example, you mentioned the shows that we watch and how, you know, it becomes the norm. Have you ever watched the shows where the person is caught cheating and they follow them around with a camera and they follow them around and then they bring the person in to say, hey, we caught you, you know, we caught you. So my thing is, okay, you've done that in the forefront, but now here it is 3 or 4 days later and we got an article about what the man was doing or what the woman was doing. Well, that's not what the show was connected to. The show was connected to the fact that you got caught cheating.
Right.
But now you've gone behind the show, behind the scenes, like these wives of Atlanta or wives of New Jersey or wives of whatever. You're going behind the scene of what they're willing to put on air. And getting really deep in their personal thing. I always come to mind with the personal line of the actors, the personal line of the celebrities, or the personal line of just the average everyday person.
Yes.
When you put that personal stuff on air for everyone to know, I just feel that there's some things that just should not be shared if I don't want them shared.
Exactly. So the thing is, we forget as a people watching television is that it should be for purely entertainment.
Exactly.
And so you made me laugh, you made me cry, but what you do with your children and your wife and your husband and your neighbors
is entirely different.
We have to remember that that's the career that they selected. It's a career. This is what you do. And for the average person, when you go to work, and if it's a 9-to-5 job, you do your work and you come home. There is no reason for the other employees or your boss
to know what's going on in your home,
in your personal
life. And not only that, I think the internet has opened that up.
Another one.
To what people show and explore and everything else. And not only that, all of your information. All of a sudden now I'm supposed to scan in my personal information. I'm supposed to scan in all of this stuff. But on the other hand, you're telling me how the web is being attacked with you know, these people that come in and attack the personal information. Well, for me, being a state worker, I remember my first encounter with anger about the internet was they, at the end of the year, they tell who made the most money in overtime. You get a pay.
Really?
And then you make overtime.
Right.
Well, they were announcing your name, where you worked, your address,
and so now
and how much you made more than your regular pay.
So now you're creating a situation of conflict because they want to know, well, why did she get so much overtime?
And not only that, I'm in law enforcement. Do I really want the criminals to know how much money I'm stashing or have or where I live? So of course when and it was on one of those things where you could look up the person and find where they are.
Right.
And I contacted one company and asked them, where did you get this where did you get this information from? And they said, oh, well, we pick up all your public information, anything that's public. So I said, well, how did you get my address and my number? It's a public record. Well, when did it become a public record with my address and my number? You work for the state. That's public. So
crossing the line.
And you're not even thinking the jeopardy you may be putting someone in because you crossed the line with certain information. Of course, if I'm going for something and they're checking my credit, I expect them to look for my credit.
Right.
I expect them to look
But
for
you
my
wanted to stay within that arena.
But you wanted to stay in that arena, not somebody that arbitrarily is looking up Joanne Cox.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, if they know a little bit, Joanne Cox lives in North Carolina, and now they find 4 Joannes, well, they can begin to narrow that down.
That's right.
And then, like the gentleman so eloquently said, well, they would have to pay, but you're only paying $25.
Yes. What's $25 when now you're coming next week to rob me?
I have an agenda.
Yes. A negative. Yes.
So the personal lines, I think some things should not be crossed.
Yeah.
It's not for me to give out. I can remember even giving out information on a friend. And I'm not giving out your phone number if I don't know if you know that person. Yeah. I have to ask. I don't assume that you and your husband go everywhere together. So why would I tell somebody about your husband? That's not my business.
And there's another thing that takes place, and that's if you're on jury duty. They're asking you these questions, have you ever done this? Or where do you live? Where do you work? But they're saying it in front of the person.
All of these other people and the person, yes.
So now, whether they even select you or not,
all your
they know where you work
there.
and where you live.
All your information is out there.
In front of supposedly, they might not be convicted, but the criminal. That to me is crossing the line and putting me in jeopardy.
And just taking it a little bit further too. We've been getting these calls. I think we brought it up on a couple of shows. We've been getting these calls where they're calling up saying they're Medicare, or they call up and say they're a health agent, or but they're not your doctor. They're not the person that you have been introduced to. They're not the care unit that you've been going to. These are people that are just calling on the phone.
That's right.
I've started asking them, what happened to the HIPAA law? What happened to
that?
It is
not applied. It is not applied.
What happened to that HIPAA law? You asking me, do I have diabetes? Do I have a need for a diabetic alert?
Yeah.
Do I have a need? But you're asking me about my personal health.
Right.
So where do we stop? Where do we draw that line? Where do we draw that line that has been erased? Because now you're asking me, well, do you have high blood pressure? Do you have this? Do you have... Those are questions that are for my medical people that I go to. And if I don't go to a medical person, your question should very well be, we're here to help you if you don't have a healthcare professional.
That should
be the very first thing that you ask.
Right out the gate. That's right.
And then let the person tell you whether or not they really want you to help. But to even call as an Aetna representative.
And you don't really know that they are Aetna representative.
But I don't go to an Aetna representative when I go to the doctor.
Right.
So, and if Aetna representative doesn't get a call from my doctor, Aetna's not going to pay the bill.
Exactly.
So why would I talk to the Aetna representative?
And this is what people need to be educated on. Who is it that you're talking to? Who will you release this information to?
Because that's crossing the line.
Because it's crossing the line.
It crosses the line.
And I am just trying to protect myself. And I think that is what we need to get from this.
Yeah, exactly. We need to know that your personal lines are there for a reason.
It's okay to protect yourself.
You have to. Personal lines are there for a reason. And that's what the quote today is based on. It says, personal lines determine boundaries. Before you cross another personal line, think about it. Because you don't know what you're opening up to.
Exactly.
Or what you're opening them up to.
And that's a word for the wise.
That's a word for the wise. So we want you, tune in and tell us what personal lines you think have been erased totally. Stepped over, stepped on, caused problems. Let us know. Leave us a comment. Subscribe. Every Thursday, we're here streaming.